Hello and welcome. This is CCHW, stands for Christ Church of the Holy Word. And friends, we are between books right now. We just finished the book of Acts, and we're beginning the book of Mark. It'll be our next episode, chapter by chapter, verse by verse. Be up in a few days. If you studied the book of Acts with us, you know a little bit about what I'm going to be talking about tonight, because most of this comes from the book of Acts. But I want to recommend to you. I'm going to put everything on the screen for you, so you don't have to get your Bible and go. This is going to be pretty short too, but I would recommend that you take some notes. You might want to jot down the book and the chapter and the verse that I'm telling you about, and then you can go check it out later, read it for yourself, make sure what we're talking about is correct. I always encourage you to check me out. Check any man out, woman out that teaches the Word of God, and make sure what they are teaching is correct. But first, I want to make sure that everybody understands this one very important fact about this book and about John Mark, and that is, he was a very young man when Jesus Christ walked this earth. He was probably still a teenager through most of it. He was following Peter around, and all of the disciples and the followers of Christ, especially we know after the crucifixion, were meeting at Mark's mother's house. Her name was Mary. They were meeting at Mary's house. So, John was a teenager right in the middle of everything. Except for being referred to John, I'm going to put these places up for you. Except for being referred to as John in Acts chapter 12, verse 25, Acts chapter 13, verse 5, and 13:13, and also in Acts chapter 15:37. Except for those places, everywhere else in the New Testament, he's consistently called by his Latin name, Mark. According to the book of Acts chapter 12, verse 12, like I said before, his mother's house, which was in Jerusalem, was the center of Christian life at that particular time. Now, speaking of Peter, in the book of Acts chapter 12, verse 12, I'll put it on the screen for you. Chapter 12, verse 12 reads, speaking of Peter again, "And when he had considered the thing," what was he considering? He'd been in prison, folks. I will cover it in a minute. But thinking about that, he came to the house of Mary, the mother of John, whose surname was Mark, where many were gathered together praying. So, this is when Peter had been in prison, friends. He'd been chained, he was under guard, and the angel of the Lord appeared to him and freed him. And he went to Mary's house. Remember, he stood outside the gate and knocked. They couldn't hardly believe that it was him, because they knew that he was all locked up. And then again, according to the book of Acts, chapter 12, verse 25, Mark accompanied Barnabas and Paul to Antioch, which is known today as Antiochia, Turkey. I may be pronouncing that wrong, but it's close. Verse 25 of this 12th chapter in Acts, and verse 25 reads, I'll put it on the screen for you, and Barnabas and Saul, Paul, returned from Jerusalem when they had fulfilled their ministry, and took with them John, whose surname was Mark. So, the three of them, Paul, Barnabas, and Mark, they took off together, and Mark became their assistant, for lack of a better term, on this missionary journey. Now, this is spoken of in Acts chapter 13, verse 5. I'll put it on the screen for you. Verse 5 reads, and when they were in Salamis, they preached the word of God in the synagogues of the Jews, and they had also John to their minister. So, Mark was their helper, their assistant, whatever you want to call him. And when they arrived at the city of Perga, Mark left them and returned to Jerusalem for some reason. So Mark leaves Paul and Barnabas. This is documented in the book of Acts, chapter 13, verse 13. I'll put it on the screen, and verse 13 reads, now when Paul and his company loosed or left from Paphos, they came to Perga in Pamphylia, and John, that would be John Mark, departing from them, returned to Jerusalem. Paul's displeased about this. He doesn't like the fact that Mark took off, and eventually this was going to cause Barnabas and Paul to separate. When Paul would decline to take Mark with him on a later journey. Because of this disagreement between Paul and Barnabas over Mark, Barnabas took Mark and they sailed to Cyprus, which is where Barnabas was from. So Paul and Barnabas split up. Let's cover this the book of Acts, chapter 15, verse 37, and it reads, and Barnabas determined to take with him John, whose surname was Mark. 38. But Paul thought not good to take him with them, who departed from them from Pamphylia, and went not with them to the work, to the missionary work that they went on. That was mentioned in the last verse that we showed you, verse 39, to complete this thought. And the contention between Paul and Barnabas was so sharp between them that they departed asunder one from the other. They broke up. And so Barnabas took Mark and sailed on to Cyprus. Paul, when this happened, he chose Silas to replace Barnabas, and the two of them would go on their mission, and Barnabas and Mark would go to Cyprus. They split up. So we know, however, that Paul and Mark later reconciled, because in the book of 2 Timothy, or the epistle of 2 Timothy, chapter 4, verse 11, Paul requests Timothy to bring Mark with him. Well, there, I'll put it on the screen for you. 2 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 11 reads, only Luke is with me. This is Paul speaking. only Luke is with me. Take Mark and bring him with thee, for he is profitable to me for the ministry. Tradition holds that Mark was one of the 70 disciples appointed by Jesus to help run the early church when it was first being formed, as is recorded in the book of Luke, chapter 10, verse 1. I'll put this on the screen for you. Luke chapter 10, verse 1, and verse 1 reads, After these things, the Lord appointed other 70 also. In addition to the 12 apostles, he appointed 70 also, and sent them two by two, before his face, in front of him, into every city and place whither he himself would go. So Christ sent out these 70 disciples, 35 groups of two, each with the objective to spread the word of God in front of the coming of Jesus. Now, the Egyptian church claims that Mark is its founder. And from the 14th century, the seat of Alexandria has been called Cathedra Marcia, which means the chair of Mark. Other places attributing their origin to John Mark are the Italian cities of Aquila and Venice, of which, both of these cities, he is the patron saint. And they use him, his picture, and his symbol is a lion for those places. Now, little more evidence of Mark's activity. The Coptic Orthodox Church is an ancient Christian denomination. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Still in existence. It's found in Egypt, which is also known in certain places as the Church of Alexandria. And it was established somewhere, they think, between 42 and 48 AD by Mark. According to the Coptic tradition, Mark was born in Cyrene, a city in North Africa, which is now Libya. Tradition also holds that after serving with Paul on his missionary trip in Rome, Mark made his way to Alexandria. It's kind of going home. And that happened about 16 years after the ascension of Jesus Christ. Mark founded the Church of Alexandria, having already been in Egypt at that particular time for 4 or 5 years, it's estimated. Mark became the first bishop of Alexandria, and he is honored as being the founder of Christianity in the continent of Africa. Before his death, Mark was succeeded by a man by the name of Ananias as the Bishop of Alexandria, and we don't really know why that happened. Some people think it was because Mark was getting old. But that happened in, according to Josephus, in the 8th year of Nero, which was 62 to 63 AD. So 30 some years after the resurrection. When Mark arrived in Alexandria, the pagans of the city resented very much his efforts to turn the people away from the worship of their traditional gods. gods and idols, false gods. In 68 AD, these pagan men, idol worshippers, put a rope around Mark's neck and dragged him through the streets of Alexandria until he was dead. Now, while some claim these traditions are false, little evidence that maybe they are, the Coptic Orthodox Church, the Greek Orthodox Church of Alexandria today, and the Coptic Catholic Church, they all originating in Africa, by the way, trace their origins back to the original community founded by Mark, and they uphold the tradition that their founder was John Mark the Evangelist. So now, with that little more knowledge about the author of this book, our next episode is going to begin our study chapter by chapter, verse by verse of the book of Mark. Friends, I hope you can join us and go on this journey with us.